For you, Elle, what was that support system like for you? Was that kind of, tapping into friends, family, school support resources? And ultimately, how did that kind of evolve over time for you, throughout your time at college?
I tapped in a lot to my friends and my teammates. My team, especially my last year, there were six of us and we were all really close. And so we hung out all the time and we all traveled together. So it was really easy to rely on them. And they were all really accepting people. So I'm very grateful that I had that experience my last year. It took a while to get to that point on my team. And so I'm very grateful I got that experience in my last year. And so definitely relied on my teammates. But before that, a lot on my family. I have a really close relationship with my sister and my mom. Without them, would not be here today. I do not exaggerate. They are my rock, my anchors. And so with them, I feel like I can do anything really. But also, I love therapy. I don't think people say it enough. I love my therapist. And so I've been going to the same therapist for most of my college since I think sophomore, junior year. And so she's been really supportive through that. I think on campus, though, also I was a part of the Hidden Opponent, which is the nonprofit organization that advocates for student athlete mental health. And I created a chapter of the Hidden Opponent at CSUN, and we hosted meetings, not on a consistent schedule. It was a little tough getting student athletes to align all their schedules as you can imagine, but we met and we made it more of a space, not kind of lecturing to people, but more so creating a space where everyone can unwind from their crazy schedules and talk about any difficulties they may be going through or any topics that they wanted to. So sometimes we would bring a topic like change. At the end of a season, that was the beginning of another sports season. We would talk about change and seasons beginning and ending while painting, and we'd bring coloring books or we'd make bracelets and that kind of stuff. So that was definitely a space that I leaned on and made some incredible friends and met incredible people through that. And the athletic department was really supportive and helped us find a space, offered up their conference room for us to use. So that was really helpful. They helped advertise our club. So definitely more of those resources. I didn't rely as much on the university counseling services just because I had a personal therapist that I was seeing.
Super cool, not only to have that, close group of friends, but also the family as well to rely on. But to your point, I mean, family, friends, all of that, for the most part, unless we have an awesome friend who's just like a sports psychologist or a therapist in general, it's always great to go seek that help, talk with somebody, even if, there isn't that struggle, because sometimes we might not know it deep down, but it's just always good to have those regular check-ins with somebody just to kind of keep up and, have communication with other people. When I was an athlete, from the time I stepped on the field from in high school all the way up until the time I graduated college, I really had, I feel like, two different mindsets as far as looking at success. At first I was very like individualistic in my approach. And I was like, hey, like, what can I do for myself that's going to get me to, the highest level college? And, it was all about me. And so it was so selfish, so horrible. And over time, though, as I started getting to college and started to, get a little bit older, it started to turn from that into, hey, like, what can I do to help the team win? How can we be, more we over me? And ultimately, to kind of go into senior year, it was like, well, how can I build these relationships and hopefully, still be able to connect with a lot of these, individuals on the team going forward in the future after I'm graduated, after I'm, 5 years gone from the program, things like that. But for you, Elle, how has your definition of success changed over time?
I've always, in my opinion, had a very unique definition of success from a very young age. My parents always stressed having fun over winning. and made sure at the end of the day I always learned something. And so I would, when I was 10, 11, 12 years old, like driving home from a golf tournament, my parents would ask me, like, what did I learn? What do I need to work on? Okay, did I like ask me, did you have fun? And so that was always what they were most concerned about. And then in 2016, my freshman year of high school, my dad passed away by suicide. And so, very sudden, it shook my world completely. And I took a year off from competition, and coming back into the competitive space, I could definitely see that time I had taken off, especially like getting later into high school when I was trying to get recruited. And so when I started the recruiting process, I could feel myself adding that pressure and that shifting my idea of success was, okay, what was my score? Instead of looking at it how my parents had always taught me, okay, did I have fun today? Like, what did I learn? What do I need to work on? And so throughout college, I always, after every single tournament, after every single practice, I was always really hard on myself. I was always my biggest critic. I was really hard on myself all throughout college. And after qualifying rounds, definitely had many mental breakdowns and had many conversations with teammates. But my definition of success never really changed from what my parents had drilled into my sister and me of did I have fun? Did I have fun out here with my teammates? Did I spend 4 hours outside after sitting in a classroom this morning? Like, yeah, I did. I got to sit in the sun and play the sport that I love today. So I definitely carried that with me towards the end of my collegiate career. I definitely noticed that I put more pressure on myself of wanting to play well and wanting to see results, knowing that I wasn't going to continue playing after school and wanting to get the best results I could. I mean, some may be listening and thinking, why wouldn't you want that the entire time? But I think that I definitely have, after my dad passed away, I think my perspective on kind of life just definitely changed. And when I approach things, I definitely just want to enjoy myself and enjoy every second. Yes, I'm still really hard on myself, but success doesn't mean that I win, doesn't mean that I'm going home with a trophy or an A on my paper or anything else like that. But success means that I spent time outside with my best friends doing the thing that I loved.
Sometimes as athletes, we, again, to your point, we put so much pressure on ourselves to perform well, to, we always dig way too deep into stats or the score or, all the certain metrics and compare ourselves to every single individual, not only on the team, but, on the competition side as well. And, looking back at my playing days when you were mentioning all that, as far as just having fun, I was like, well, man, like some of the best times, like as far as a performance standpoint, when I was having fun, that was probably when I was performing the best. And so the more that we can have fun, then hopefully the more that we can perform well, because we're not worrying about the future. We're not worrying about all the negatives that could happen. We're just locked in at that current moment. And for a lot of us, like myself, baseball is such a kid's game. So it's like, hey, I get to have the privilege to play a kid's game, college, and get to play with, a bunch of other group of guys who are super awesome and supportive. So I know one thing that I ultimately wish I had going from high school to college was just some type of advice from a student athlete who had kind of walked the walk and now they're talking the talk, right? As far as what their journey looked like from freshman year all the way to senior year. And, just, a few little tidbits that they would have just loved to have passed down to somebody else that, hey, if I was in your spot, I wish I would have known this when I was a high school senior. For you, Elle, kind of looking back and taking a culmination of all 4 years of college, what are a few key pieces of advice that you'd love to give somebody, maybe a junior, senior golfer in high school, to kind of help them throughout their athletic journey into college?
I would say to Definitely rely on the people around you, on the resources available. And I feel like when people say resources, they picture like books and papers, but I'm talking about like best friends and teammates and coaches if you have a good relationship with your coach, or roommates, or if it is a book or a flyer and a club, anything around you. Could be a social media account, anything that makes you feel seen. Rely on it, lean on it. Find your outlets and don't forget about them. It's really easy to get caught up in the rush of things and to not give yourself a break and to not feel like you deserve a break. But it's okay to take a step back and to take a deep breath, because at the end of the day, if you keep pushing and you keep pushing, you're not going to perform at your best. Taking a step back and taking time, taking whatever you need is going to help you be the best version of yourself. Pushing yourself beyond the point of repair won't help you be the best version of yourself. So take care of yourself and don't forget the reason you started your sport. There's the little version of you looking up, incredibly proud of yourself. So don't forget that.
And I know that we've talked about a lot of, heavier hitting items, right? We've talked about the pressure of sports. We've talked about the different challenges, the demands, both on and off the field. But ultimately, I love to ask this question for all the athletes, just because, again, it normally, hopefully, brings a smile to their face as far as, some of the things that we'll discuss here. But for you, Elle, what were some of your favorite moments, throughout and during your collegiate golf career?
I loved traveling. I loved traveling with my teammates. I loved being the oldest on the team and looking at the babies on the team and absolutely rolling my eyes at all the funny stuff that they would get themselves into. I really just love spending time with my teammates, traveling with them, connecting with them, meeting other athletes was definitely really fun, and hearing their experiences. I was always really bummed that I couldn't travel abroad, but then again, we with golf we travel year round pretty much, and we went to Hawaii and Boston and incredible places, so couldn't really complain on that front, and got to do it with my best friends, so really special.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you're complaining about going to Hawaii, I mean,
Yeah.
the most that we went to is maybe like Indiana or Ohio when I was in my JUCO in Michigan. So that's definitely a step up. But no, traveling, to your point, was always something that was super fun, very special with the teammates, almost more of that team bonding aspect than anything else. Being able to kind of learn and talk with your teammates kind of outside of that physical practice or game environment. So completely agree there. It was super fun. But ultimately, Elle, I had an absolute blast just learning more about your career, being a collegiate golfer, everything, on your side of the story, kind of on, the mental health, sports performance side, and also to the advice that you left for the listeners, because I think you bring up a lot of awesome topics that, for the most part, aren't really touched on. And for me, the biggest piece of it that is my takeaway is just to have fun. Because I know for myself, even on a day to day basis within just regular work now, sometimes I just get so caught up in stuff where I'm like, hey, like where's the fun, right? Like how can I make this fun? How can I actually enjoy this? So sometimes too, it's just about trying to enjoy the moment and, not have to worry about, hey, I got this thing going on that's, a week and a half from now, and that's what's keeping me up at night, right? So I definitely a big key takeaway for me. I'm super, super glad that you mentioned that you brought that up, especially for everybody listening in. But again, Elle, for everybody who's listening in, want to mention that we are going to post and write down all of her social media handles down below that she's willing to share. Again, too, is a big communicator in herself. Don't hesitate to reach out, especially, if you're looking to, talk more about either the collegiate golf scene, kind of the mental health and sports, all of that. Again, she did a great job with the hidden opponent at her college. And so again, too, she's super passionate in that area, super passionate about mental health and also sports in combination with that. But again, Elle, can't thank you enough for your time this evening. It was an absolute blast talking with you.